Good, we need those nuts and berries.
Well, they're in my room and probably in transportation.
Okay, great.
All right.
Welcome, everybody. We are starting off the week a little bit early, which is great because we have a lot to do. It is Tuesday, April 18th, hard to believe. And we are working on our workforce development bill, H484. And this morning we are lucky enough to have Liz Gamache here, who is the development director of Northwest Vermont United Way. And she is here to chat with us about Section 21. And
I'm Clarissa French,
and you're
Executive Director of United Way.
Terrific. Well, welcome. You I don't think have testified in this committee before.
Not in this committee, no.
So we should introduce ourselves.
Okay.
We're missing two members, one of whom is a new mother and in
We
the
don't have a
process.
baby picture going up there yet?
No, we need them. So I'm Allison Clarkson, though I represent the Windsor County District.
I'm Ann Cummings. I represent Washington County and part of Memorial, so I have represent Stowe.
Wendy Harrison, I'm in Windham County.
Wait, in Washington
well-
County right now.
Correct. I represent Windham County. I live in Brattleboro, and I'm currently in Montpelier, which is in Washington County,
So we're-
and the great state of Vermont.
And we got the red memo today.
We did.
So.
Yeah, sorry.
The call went out early.
So would you be kind enough to anchor us in section 21 of the bill? And then we have the floor at 9:30 and we apologize
Oh,
for.
no, that's fine. Our aim is to be concise and give you the information that you need. We are here to explain a request that we have of the state of Vermont to invest $255,000 to help us expand United Way's Working Bridges program. So we want to share a little bit with you about the program, how it connects to workforce development, and what it would mean in order to have resources that would enable us to expand beyond United Way of Northwest Vermont and Green Mountain United Way, which currently run the program in the northern tier of Vermont.
And just for people, our team, it's page 19 of the bill. It's just a very short, it's actually just the appropriation amount and doesn't really discuss the program. So that's part of why we're here.
Yeah, so we'll share a bit about the program, and then we also do, I don't want to forget, have a request regarding the language, a minor update. I'll just share what it is our intention as we go through this, is that the funding would help to support Lamoille's expansion as well as other United Ways, but it would come to United Way of Northwest Vermont and we would administer it on behalf of the other Vermont United Ways.
And on behalf of all of them,
Yes.
so that would include the one in Windham County.
Yeah. And so we'll start with brief introductions. First to the program, United Ways Working.
Just introduce yourselves for the.
Sure, for the record. I'm Liz Gamache, Director of Development at United Way of Northwest Vermont. I've been involved with community-oriented economic development over the last 25 years. I'm currently working at United Way, but I've been involved in the nonprofit and government sectors in different capacities, ranging from working as in the energy sector, preservation trust, working for nonprofits, and also serving as mayor in St. Albans, overseeing the economic.
Right.
Lots of fellow former mayors in this building.
Yes, yes. So the combination of community development and economic development are near and dear to my heart. In terms of other engagements that I have that connect those two, I serve on the Working Communities Challenge Core Team for Franklin and Durand counties, where our focus is on housing. I have previously served on the state's Downtown Development Board and currently serve on boards including Champlain Housing Trust, Franklin County Industrial Development Corporation, and Preservation Trust, just to give you a little smattering of what brings me to the conversation. And we are the United Way that started Working Bridges, and along with me today is Clarissa French from United Way of Memorial County. I'll let her introduce herself.
So I'm Clarissa French, Executive Director of United Way of Memorial County. We're interested in getting the Working Bridges program. A little bit of my background is I actually was a student of yours at the UVM College of Social Work. a long time ago. I remember coming to the State House.
Okay.
So I since have had about 15 years of experience in the nonprofit sector, have also done a stint in development. And so Lamoille County is very interested in having a Working Bridges program. But because we are a much smaller United Way, it's a bit more of a lift from a philanthropic standpoint in terms of anchoring funding. I also want to introduce Emily Rosenbaum. She's our initiative director for the Working Communities Challenge Grant in Lamoille, which we are a recipient of. And our Working Communities Challenge focuses on a lot of different things, kind of more of a broad approach to, systemic barriers to workforce development. And so out of Working Communities Challenge, one of the things that our community decided was that resource coordination in a variety of ways is absolutely necessary for Lamoille to benefit. And so Working Bridges is a piece of that puzzle for us.
To give you a high-level view of the program, what it is at the core, it's about resource coordination on site with employers. We help employees, we help workers to stay employed when otherwise, without connection to existing resources, they might get knocked out of stable employment. So we do that with a resource coordinator that helps to serve employees while also working with managers and supervisors to help meet the needs that help to improve retention and bolster financial stability for employees. We've been doing it at United Way of Northwest Vermont for about 16 years. And currently we, in the previous fiscal year, served about 1,500 employees in Northern Vermont. In the last several years, our partners at Green Mountain United Way have also taken on the program. It's a United Way of Northwest Vermont program, but we share it and coordinate with Green Mountain United Way. So we're currently at almost 30 employers in Northern Vermont, and that's typically manufacturers, healthcare, childcare. We work with nonprofits, and we also work at CCV, helping to keep students in the pipeline so that they don't drop out due to lack of connection to resources. I think it's such a shame to think about the amount of resources that we have in the state that go unused when people just don't know how to navigate to find them. So
True.
So we help to refer workers to the resources, that are in existence. So we hope that, we're making the system work better. We also are able, over the 16 years, we've developed a database where we collect data from the businesses that we serve. We aggregate it, we share it back to businesses. We use it to inform some of the policy and advocacy that our business partners wish to engage in. So we have a robust data reporting system that our United Way oversees on behalf of the other United Ways.
Did you send this to us
Yeah,
electronically?
I'm wondering, would it be helpful?
Wait, no, I think this is great. I mean, I
Okay,
don't
You'll
know.
have a copy of it.
Oh, do we have a copy of it?
You will have a copy of it, but
Yes,
if you would
I-
rather us just talk, we can do that too.
Oh, we do. We
Okay.
have
Oh,
it. We have it
fabulous.
right here.
Great.
Right on it.
Had we but fully done an archaeological dig
Oh, there it is.
into our, Scott had it right on
It's
top.
on this side.
And for people watching, they can get it on our website, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you very much. This will be
Scott,
very
thank you.
easier. It's been a while since we've done in-person testimony.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we used to do it on Zoom. So if you'll move to the third page, which is the circular diagram, we can share exactly how Working Bridges works. At the heart is a resource coordinator who spends time on site working with employees to overcome obstacles. I'll give you an example. Housing is one that comes up frequently in Northwest Vermont. Financial challenges comes up frequently in Green Mountain Power and Green Mountain United Way service territory. So an example, an employer has a really strong, reliable employee that suddenly is threatened with not being able to come to work because they've lost their housing. Maybe it's a no-cause eviction, maybe it's a personal situation, and they simply can't find housing. If they can't find housing, they're not going to be able to continue showing up to work. Our resource coordinators engage, help to connect them with existing resources so they can overcome that obstacle. It applies to a wide range of resources: transportation, childcare, financial support services. Connection to mental health support services is becoming increasingly important, to basic needs, housing, food transportation. So the resource coordinator is at the hub at our partners. Resource coordinators are highly trained in not only in certification to be resource coordinators, they're also trained as financial coaches, recovery coaches, mental health, first aid providers, and more. So they come with a wide variety of problem-solving skills. We also offer trainings for managers and supervisors within our workplace partners and also outside. So the program is more intensive when it's on site, but we offer very popular training programs for businesses that are interested in learning more about the challenges that employees, workers, especially at the lower end of the wage scale, are faced with, and how they can help to address those and really develop more understanding and empathy for those particular issues. We offer special training and topics for employees, depending on what's needed in the workplaces. And then we're also an adjunct to human resource departments where we can go down into the weeds to help find resources. We draw a line of confidentiality so that employees feel comfortable in coming to Working Bridges and sharing the issues that they may not necessarily want to share with employers, but we do aggregate data and share that back so employers and others can use it to understand what the most significant
This is
issues
also
are.
important because it helps alleviate some of the strain on HR departments. A lot of HR folks are pressured with finding, if someone has an issue at work, even if it's outside of work, they're reaching out to their HR professional to figure out what that is. And a lot of HR professionals are not trained in social work or trained in sort of resource navigation. And so this helps provide sort of that extra support both for the employer and for the employee in a way that's really tangible and beneficial.
Are all your employers big enough to have HR departments?
So for Working Bridges, we're primarily with larger employers, but this is part of why we're coming to you with the request for the expansion, because we want to be able to meet the needs of smaller employers and many of the smaller employers in our more rural communities. So that could change. So if we develop new models in more rural communities,
Yeah.
they may not necessarily
And
have.
that's what we're looking at in Memorial, because, as you're well aware, we're a small business economy, generally speaking, in Memorial County with small employers like restaurants, and it's also tourism based. So we only have a few larger employers like MSI. And so what we would do is start with the larger employers and dig in to try to figure out a model like a cooperative sort of model where maybe multiple restaurants could use the same, resource coordinator for a certain number of hours a week, or we station a resource coordinator somewhere and everybody kind of pays into that, the hours for that resource coordinator. But that hasn't been possible quite yet because the funding model for Working Bridges, it's a fee for service model for the resource coordinator's time, but sort of the admin, the data collection, the training, all of that back end cost entirely relies on philanthropy. So for a small shop like ours, that's very difficult to throw a lot of energy and funding into one program when we're also trying to fund our other programs and other initiatives. So that's part of the reason we're here.
Okay, great.
Yeah, but that is the reason we're here.
So we're down through sort of the employee workshops. Does that sort of take us through that?
Yeah, so employee workshops depend on the topics that are impacting a particular workplace most heavily. So you'll bring in experts or resources to talk about housing or transportation, whatever the case may be. I should also mention that one of the things we're really proud of is that we do quite a bit of innovation in our programming. So we provide that in the here and now needs, we help to meet those. But when we see particular issues cropping up across our network, we work to bring our employer partners together to share best practices and then use philanthropic dollars to help create innovative solutions, say to a transportation problem, to see how we collectively can bring our partners together to meet transportation needs.
So a good example of that was between.
Near to Wendy, sorry.
Yeah.
Wendy.
And this, we probably don't have time to go into a lot of detail, but at some point, I would really like to know what you have done with transportation, because there are so many things that could be done, just tweaking to make things, better, obviously, to make it work better. And just generally, if you're identifying issues and systems, that would be a really good thing for us to know about.
Yeah.
And especially, again, with a lot of specificity so that we could have that on our radar.
Yeah, one of the things that will be helpful about going statewide is with our data tracking system, you'll be able to see aggregated data across the state. but then we'll also break it down by the different United Way areas. So we have a really local focus on the one hand, but then we can take it up to a statewide level. And you'll see differences. We see it with Green Mountain United Way and United Way Northwest Vermont. Housing in Chittenden County, Franklin County, you know, the top issue. Financial issues, stability, a key issue in northern Vermont. So
And this will be interesting as it comes into play with what we're working on actually to create a coordinated central workforce development office within the Agency of Administration that would actually oversee all of workforce development and coordinate all this work.
Yeah.
And remind me, how are you connected with the Working Community Challenge grant? You are a piece of that, of Working Community
No.
Challenge?
So our United Way is a backbone partner for Lamoille's grant. So
Okay, great. That's what I thought.
working with partners, receive the grant as a backbone partner. So we host Emily's position and then we participate in the challenge and kind of coordinate the
So you're the
collaboration.
host.
Correct. Yeah, and
Okay.
one of the reasons that we brought Emily here today is because through work, like she allowed us to kind of have a little bit more energy and leverage into looking into working bridges. Because Working Communities Challenge hosted a summit in Lamoille. There were over 100 community leaders that came, workshopped and kind of declared like, here are the issues we really want to focus on: housing, resource coordination, transportation. And so that was like Emily's strategic
Right,
plan.
because
for the grant.
they presented a couple weeks ago, which was great.
Yeah.
Okay, we have sadly 9 minutes.
Okay, we're gonna jump ahead. Let's go to the pie charts, the
Right.
revenue streams. So what we've got here is we're trying to represent on the left-hand side, the pie chart is an example of current revenue to support the program and what would happen if we had a state investment of $255,000. And what you'll see in comparing, first of all, the two pie charts is that the gray portion represents fee for service. So this is something that employers do pay for. It's a valuable service. So they can contribute, our target is to have 2/3 of the cost covered through fee for service. The other 1/3 of the cost has been covered through philanthropy. And part of the reason we use philanthropy is that comes into play for having space to support innovative practices, do pilots, try different things that we might not otherwise be able to do. And it also increasingly has been covering some of the administrative costs, the data management system and so on, which we think is really an important investment in the infrastructure of the program. With $255,000, effectively, what it would be able, well, let me back up. Sorry, I'm going too fast. We also rely on currently rely on
So the
grant.
orange third is the grants.
Right. And
How do grants differ from philanthropy?
so philanthropy they're both related. So when we're talking about philanthropy, we're talking about donations from individual donors or workplaces that are contributing.
Got it. These are more state and federal.
Right, and we relied we have had very small amount of state support over the years. In fact, as far as I know, there's only been one recent grant, which has been very helpful to us. It helped us to create language videos to talk about health insurance in 7 different languages for many of the
Very
employees.
helpful.
Yeah, so
Great.
that's an example of the innovation that we do.
It'd be great for us to even know that you have that. I know you're putting it in your head.
I'm
Yeah.
absorbing, but
Yeah,
this.
okay.
The other grants are private foundations, not really federal or.
Right, no, the
state.
philanthropy, got it. The
Yeah.
differentiation, state, federal versus.
So state funding has, to the last 16 years, not been a big part of our work. But philanthropy and grant funding is not stable, and we're concerned going into a recession that philanthropy may not be as strong in the coming year as it has been. So we're asking for state support.
They're all fickle.
Yeah, yes,
State,
true.
fed, and philanthropy.
What will happen with state funding is it gives us the ability to help our neighbors in the other United Ways effectively with startup costs, so they can build the infrastructure. We're stable and running. We've got a model that works in Northwest Vermont. So, but we don't have the capacity of our staff to help do the training and support services to get the other United Ways up and running. So this would help them to be able to hire the initial resource coordinators, to provide training, technical support that's needed to get the program up and running. And then once they achieve economy of scale, like we have with our program, we don't anticipate needing that startup cost anymore we get to a model where we kind of stabilize with fee for service and philanthropic and grant funding. So it's really would be helpful for United Ways that are smaller to expand.
And not, actually, not every region has a United Way.
Well, so
I mean, we have a one we share with the New Hampshire.
that's right, yeah.
Not exactly devoted to, you have you're Lamoille, you have a Washington.
So
Well, this
every
says,
region-
yeah,
Every region in Vermont is actually covered by a United Way, so we
Well,
all divvy up
yeah.
zip codes.
But some
But
more than,
whether or not you see it clear, like, or whether or not it's readily available to those populations, and like you said, the one in New Hampshire, does it actually serve Bennington adequately, or,
Upper Valley. I mean,
Yeah.
it's unclear to me. Anyway.
yeah,
But we have a strong working communities challenge partner in Springfield
Nice.
and now in the White River.
yes.
but all of the state would be covered by this. So
Well,
these
No,
don't
they
include
begin
the
to build
southern.
out for other.
Right, so yeah, as you noticed, most of those are northern counties, and so yes, we're looking at approaching other United Ways. Other United Ways are aware that we're doing this. We're just the first one that would onboard because we're ready, primed and ready to go. But Rutland County's interested. We've had conversations with Ruben in Wyndham County.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
thought that we did, working bridges. I've
There,
heard of it.
over the years, I've only been involved with working bridges for about 5 years, but over
Okay.
the years, there have been some different variations.
Okay,
But this working bridges it's a model that is owned, so to speak, by United Way of Northwest Vermont. We have quality standards,
okay,
expectations, so that would stay with the program as we expand out to the other United
okay,
Ways.
but everybody will have an opportunity to be included in that.
Yes,
Correct,
Okay.
yeah.
and it will take, it's not gonna happen overnight. We anticipate this happening over 2 to 3 years, that we would do the build out.
So is this understood? I don't think the language says that it would be for 3 years.
It doesn't, it only indicates 1 year. We would ideally like to come back for
Every year
2
for-
and year 3, but we would get to a point where we stop, where we're at a point of self-sufficiency. or
Because it sounds like
sustainability.
you can reach a point of self-sufficiency, which you've already
We've
reached.
demonstrated that, right? So we're already able to expand because we've built the infrastructure and we've achieved the economy of scale. But the smaller United Ways are the ones that
That's
don't.
great.
can't.
It is.
It is a wonderful
I mean,
program.
having proven results, where you are self-sufficient and you are providing these really important resources, because we struggled in my area to provide, especially HR and financial services to small companies. It's really difficult, so I'm excited.
And I was trying to work with lower income Vermonters, and his definition was nothing works. And when the landlord is threatening to raise double your
Yeah.
rent, that's all you're seeing. You're not seeing your job. You're not remembering to call and say, I'm not coming in.
Yeah,
To have that resource at that bottom level for people.
It's
that are-
huge.
yeah,
Yes, it's
Huge.
huge.
yeah.
So thank you very much. I am so apologetic because we could spend another hour with you discussing this. And I think we were very excited about the Working Community Challenge
Yeah,
update, which is terrific. And it's great to know how all the things we hear about connect and work together. Thank you so much. We're going to be making recommendations, as you know, to the Appropriations Committee by the end of our time together tomorrow. So thank you. This was really helpful.
Thank you for your time.
Please feel free to reach out if you have
Oh,
questions or.
Don't worry,
you know,
we will.
like, explore it further. We'd be
Oh,
happy
yeah.
to do that.
No, I definitely want to talk to you again.
Great.
But yeah, no, and
Okay.
We're letting you go. We're letting you go.
Okay.
Thanks for when you're gone.